She called the cops on me for trespassing on my own property. Blue lights flashing across the pool tiles, her finger pointed right at me like I was some kind of criminal. "That man is using our community pool without authorization," she hollered, and I could feel the whole street watching from behind their blinds. The cop looked at me, confused, because right behind me, that sparkling blue water wasn't just a pool, not really. It was the private water line, my water line, feeding every single backyard in this neighborhood, including hers. The entire underground system, from the reservoir to the last little filtration pump, was stamped on my deed. A deed she'd never read, not once, even though she'd fined half the neighborhood for parking crooked or letting their grass get too long. I didn't argue. I just handed the officer an old, folded map, signed by the county in 1978. My grandfather's seal still bold in the corner. The cop's eyebrows went up. Karen's face dropped. And right then, in the middle of those flashing lights and chlorine fumes, her little empire of fines and HOA arrogance started to sink. She tried to police me, never realizing I owned the water she was standing on. "My name's Marcus Layton. I'm the third generation in this town to get my hands dirty in the dirt, fixing lines, and keeping the water running clean. My grandfather was the one who put in the first deep water line, back when these lots were just mud and scrub grass and dreams. When he passed, the county signed everything over to me. I never saw it as a prize, more like a promise I had to keep. Water's not supposed to belong to one person, not really. It belongs to everyone who respects it. That pool out back isn't some backyard luxury for me. It's part of the infrastructure. It filters the whole system, balances the pressure, keeps the lines from getting stagnant when the rain goes dry. My grandfather called it the heart of the town's veins. Every time I check a valve or clean a filter, I can almost hear his voice. Keep it steady, Marcus. If the water runs clean, the people stay kind. For years, he was right. Things were simple. Then the HOA changed hands. That's when Cheryl Maddox swept in, heels clicking, clipboard in hand, all business and big smiles. She was the kind of person who thought every rule was a weapon and every neighbor was a suspect. Suddenly, there were flyers about modernization, new standards, property uniformity. She started out wanting access to the pool, said it'd be perfect for community events, swim nights, barbecues, fundraisers, you name it. I told her the truth. Pool wasn't part of the HOA. Privately maintained, privately insured, legally mine. I even showed her the deed. She barely glanced at it. Then she smirked. Not surprised, not convinced, just already planning how to get her way. Well, we'll see about that. She walked off, clutching her clipboard like a shield. That was the day everything changed. She started sending notices, one after another, unauthorized structure, noise complaints for me cleaning filters, even aggressive behavior. I remembered what my granddad said about patience. Sometimes you have to let the pressure build before you turn the valve. So, I started my own evidence binder. Cameras on the fence. Copies of every letter, every email, time-stamped photos, the works. I figured logic would win. Once I showed her the paperwork, she'd give up. But Cheryl didn't care about logic. She cared about control. She wielded the rules like a sword. She'd find the Old Navy vet down the street for a too-tall flagpole, slap notices on a single mom for kids' bikes left outside. At meetings, she'd sit center stage, papers spread out like she was presiding over a trial. Public humiliation as performance art. And when my turn came up on the agenda, she fixed her eyes right on me. "Mr. Layton, we've received concerns about your pool. Some residents believe it's community property." I told her, even in calm, "It's private. Been in my family since the 70s. She just smiled. All teeth and calculation. "We'll have to review that. You'll receive correspondence soon." The meeting rolled on, but the whispers didn't stop. "Thinks he owns the place," someone muttered. I wanted to laugh. They didn't know how close they were. Pretty soon her car was parked across the street, clipboard balanced on the steering wheel, watching me like I was a problem to solve. The violation letters came faster, 3 in a single week. I didn't fight back. Not yet. I stacked the fines, logged every insult, let the pile get taller. Because I knew the ground Cheryl was standing on, the hoses she regulated, the lawns she measured, all of it depended on my family's waterline. She was writing fines on earth that carried my grandfather's name. But she didn't see it coming when I finally snapped back. It was a blazing June Saturday, air thick with sunscreen and fresh-cut grass. I stepped out back and found the HOA had set up for a community barbecue right across my fence on my property. Folding chairs, a grill, a banner reading, HOA Summer Kickoff. Cheryl's son was flipping burgers like he'd inherited the place. Cheryl herself greeted neighbors by the gate, all charm and fake warmth. I asked why her event was on my land. She didn't flinch. "Marcus, this is a community pool. We're celebrating togetherness." I pointed at the private property. Sign bolted to the fence. "Not community property, and you know it." Her smile got icy. "People see this as shared space." "Seeing it doesn't make it true," I told her. "You need to move this event." For a second, everyone froze. Then she waved her hand. "Fine. We'll relocate. No need to make a scene." But the scene was made. The HOA sent an email blast that night, called me uncooperative and hostile. By Monday, my mailbox had another violation notice taped on. Unauthorized modification, daily fine. I realized it wasn't about the pool, not anymore. Cheryl wanted to set an example. To show what happens if you don't kneel to the clipboard. That's when I stopped being irritated and started feeling something else, determined. Every new letter went into my binder. My grandfather used to say, "The best defense against noise is paper." So I documented everything. Photos, letters, HOA meeting recordings, even Facebook posts painting me as some greedy water baron. I quietly requested the HOA's financial records, my right as a member. They denied again, then stopped replying. That's when I knew. If someone fights that hard to hide records, there's more than numbers buried. The next twist hit when I found a black camera wedged in my back fence, pointed at my pool, and a drone hovering overhead the next week. Cheryl posted in the Facebook group about unregistered structures and unsafe maintenance. She never named me, but the comments made it clear. Is that the guy with the pool? What's he hiding? She uploaded photos. Always out of context, always making me look suspicious. At night, I barely slept. My phone filled with footage, my table with paperwork, my mind with legal codes and HOA bylaws. That's when I found it, the section she'd ignored. Under state law, any HOA member can demand to inspect records and challenge fines without proof of violation. And if the HOA acts outside its authority, a homeowner can file for injunctive relief, a court order that stops the board cold. So I started building my case. Screenshots, bylaws, contradictions, everything. My binder doubled in size. I even found out, with help from an old contractor and a tough-as-nails property attorney named Laura Hale, that Cheryl and her board had secretly rerouted public drain lines into my private water system to save money, offloading their maintenance costs while still billing the residents. That's not just fraud, that's an environmental nightmare. Laura built a case so tight it squeaked, demanding remediation, penalties, and county investigation. The county hearing felt like Judgment Day. Cheryl strode in, all red blazer and pearls, her lawyer smirking. The judge called our case. Cheryl's lawyer started with photos and accusations. Laura waited, then presented the original deed, the survey maps, contractor confessions, proof of illegal connections. Usage doesn't equal ownership, counsel. By that logic, trespassers become landlords. The judge saw right through it. "Mrs. Maddox, the record is clear. Your association rerouted drainage and altered private infrastructure without authorization. This court issues a cease and desist, effective immediately, pending full review." The gavel cracked down. Cheryl's composure shattered in public. Her resignation went out within days. The HOA board dissolved. Her house hit the market, and the neighborhood breathed for the first time in years. After all the drama, the county reclassified the water as municipal, with maintenance rights returned to my family. The fines, the restitution, the engineering overhauls, the empire of rules Cheryl built crumbled in weeks. And the pool, once the battlefield, was just a pool again. A few neighbors came by to apologize. We helped the old Navy vet put his flagpole up, this time taller, right by the park. No one measured. They just admired the view. I hung a wooden sign by the pool. Private reservoir, built by Leighton family. Not a threat, just a truth. My grandfather's name carved in the wood, finally home. That night, I read his old journal by the water. Water unites or divides a town, depending on who controls the valve. It hit me. He didn't mean just pipes. He meant people. And for the first time in a long while, the water ran clear in the pipes, in the neighborhood, and in me. So if you've got your own HOA horror story, drop it below. Tell me where you're watching from, what you think about power, property, and justice. Because sometimes, all it takes to change a place is quiet patience, a stack of paperwork, and a little reminder that real power doesn't come from rules. It comes from roots. You know what I mean?